Hello, hello, hello. What's this? A new book for Classic Traveller. Of course I had to get a hold of a copy of this. So we're looking at pirates in Classic Traveller now. We've gone through mercenary and scouts, etc. And now we're looking at pirates. So let's take a look at what's inside. Because of course I bought it straight away. I've highlighted a few things that caught my eye as I went through the book. First of all, the layout. I mean, from the title page onwards, it still looks like the original books, and I love that. The fact that they've retained that look and feel. Obviously, this looks much better than the PDF scans I've got of the original books. It's all freshly made, freshly laid out. Intro from Mark Miller, telling us how piracy was always part of the plan. So there's a few bits of art in here. Nothing particularly spectacular, but that's in line with the original Little Black books. Introduction. Okay, so you're going to create pirate characters, and I thought this was interesting. There's no academy for pirates. You don't go somewhere to learn to be a criminal as such. But it does say, it's interesting here, you could start by attending college or academies for any of the other books. So academies for mercenaries or traders, scouts, etc. You could attend the early schools for them and then move on to generating your character as a pirate. This is actually my favourite bit of art. This guy just looks so piratey. Okay, one of the things that's different to characters in most of the books is that there can be assassination attempts. Either you're given a mission to carry out an assassination, and this can be against other pirates, or indeed other pirates can make an assassination attempt against you. If you're an officer within the pirate structure, it's entirely possible that someone within your own ship even is going to come for you and try and take your job. And I thought that was an interesting way of building that into the character generation. Another thing that can happen is during your 4-year terms, you might get jailed. Actually spend your time inside. And that's a whole new concept for generating your characters. What else did I see? Okay, so Corsair, you can receive a Corsair ship. It doesn't talk about getting a share of a ship. It talks about getting a Corsair ship. And another thing you can get is a letter of marque. It goes more into this further on in the book, but the principle of a letter of marque is that a government structure has issued you a letter authorising you to carry out acts of piracy on their opponents. So it could be another government or it could be another corporate. We've got a list of more specialist skills that do not appear in the basic rulebook, but they do appear in the other Little Black books, and they've just been repeated here for completeness sake. Let's just whiz past those. So then you get into the actual tables used. One of the main things is that this book, like Mercenary, etc., and Scouts, you can get a skill per year of each term. The original book was basically 1 skill per term. Well, you go on 4 missions during your 4-year term and you can get a skill from each one. So there's tables here for generating what those are. The usual survival, promotion, etc. Then the list of skills you can gain. Mustering out benefits, quite normal. Apart, of course, you can obtain a ship here. I love the fact that pirate companies are ephemeral. And company here is not a incorporated business, it's a group of pirates. So who's in charge can change through assassination. You could take another ship as part of your piracy, and then suddenly you need a crew on that, so your crew will split. You will do new recruitment, people will die in combat, so you can be constantly evolving who and what is part of your ship. I love the idea that recruitment's often done in taverns on poor worlds, so you can easily see how a traveller might be down on their luck and get recruited onto a pirate vessel. They could have run out of low berth passages, perhaps, and they've just got marooned. Piracy is a way off of that planet. Another thing that's interesting, if your pirate is part of the Corsair, there will be a charter. That's something all the pirates sign up to. It's an agreement that they're going to get so many shares from the booty, that the person in charge is able to give orders to do this and that, and what other things might come down to democratic processes. So rather than a military-style ship, you have input into it, and you've not been drafted, you've signed up to it. So at the referee's discretion, crews who've been abused, experienced a setback, or lost a battle, or have been without plunder for several weeks. So if you're not doing enough piracy, then you may require the captain to make a check to retain power, and this could go on to be an assassination attempt. So if your character's the captain and something goes wrong, then you could end up role-playing out an assassination attempt, which I found quite interesting. So here it goes on about letters of marque, giving you more details. And you can have more than one letter of marque. As a pirate, you're an independent body, so you could have letters of marque from opposite sides. You could have a letter from both sides in some conflict, which could be quite interesting. And those letters of marque might well act as introductions to various people offering below-the-table jobs. It grants the bearer a government-backed license to seize, cripple, or destroy shipping of an adversary. It does say here that within the Imperium, letters of marque and piracy are an accepted practice. But there are bounds. You can't be willfully going around and murdering people on board ships. You should be dropping them off at the nearest station. So here it says the Imperium privateering is permitted by the imperial rules of war. So if there is a war going on, you can get involved. But cruelty or barbarism could get the privateer hunted down by the Imperial Navy. So you could have a letter of marque in a local dispute, but if you start, jettisoning bodies into the sun rather than dropping them down somewhere safe, then the Imperial Navy would get involved in that local dispute to try and root you out. Goes on about trade wars, pirate syndicates, Varg corsairs. In the Alien book for Varg, it talks about them being particularly piratical due to their culture, etc. So, of course, that had to come in here. Got some guidance here on how to carry out piracy, how to loot things, what to do when you encounter pirates, etc. I'm going to just take a little deviation here, because I myself wrote a little booklet. It's only 8 pages. The rationale behind this is it's a small booklet that a corporate or government crew would be issued when they take up their shipboard position. So it's an introduction. Quiet now, cat. It's an introduction. Stop it. It's an introduction to the dangers of piracy and what the crew member would have to do about it, or how to behave if pirates came on board. So that's just a bit of self-promotion for you. Right, let's go back to the original PDF here. Scroll down. Obviously, pirates need booty. So there's rules here for how much value and stuff you can pick up. And how you can get it. For instance, you can break into the ship's safe, you can take the cargo, you can rob the passengers, that sort of thing. Also talks about how you should handle prisoners if you don't want the Imperial Navy coming after you. And most pirates prefer not to deal with crew and passengers. So there's a lot here about threatening traders to dump their cargo, and then you just pick up the cargo and run, rather than boarding and having to deal with people. You can take the belongings of passengers, as I said. Some prisoners, especially people of rank, can be picked up and they could be ransomed. And, of course, you could strip the ship, take everything of value from the ship, including drive components. So this is an opportunity for another bit of self-promotion from me. I actually wrote a booklet a while back called Salvage, which basically gives you a whole new career as a salvage operator, running salvage bases. Gives you some insight into the laws regarding salvage and how you might operate a campaign set within a salvage business. So that's something you might want to look at. And that ties into piracy in a number of ways. Let's go back to the PDF. So you can strip the ships even if you've got the equipment to do so. And there are other pirate activities. Now, we assume pirates are running up to a ship and taking control of it. That's how people think of piracy. But it can also be raids. You could be dropping down onto a planet and basically robbing them at turret point. You could also engage yourself in smuggling between various nations. And you can do extortion. So if you land on a small colony world, you could extort some money from the colony to... well, you could just say, that's kind of a nice air processor you got there. It'd be terrible if something happened to it. So you could extort money as well. Goes into opposition here, which would just be governments trying to hunt you down. Again, we got an opposition table, so depending on the type of base, you might have more opposition to your piracy. Corsairs. This section of the book is going to make a lot of people happy because it describes a number of piratical ships. That's a hard word to get through. So 2 or 3 ships. Then we've got some interesting, what I call ironmongery, and that made me laugh. So you've got a cargo mover, which is just a way of moving cargo around. But chaff canisters was new to me. I'm familiar with sand casters, which throw out sand to lessen or reduce the amount of laser damage you can take. But here they've got actual chaff canisters, which would disrupt any sensor ops against your ship. Interesting. Anyway, external cradle as well I found kind of interesting. Basically something that you can strap a ship to and move around and manoeuvre with it. Interesting idea. The rest of this was fairly pedestrian. Personal equipment, the grapple around. I thought that was quite interesting. The idea that you fire it at somebody and it grapples them. Basically, it wraps string around them and keeps them still. I thought that was an interesting idea. And this rescue round, it's basically a round you can fire from your rifle or pistol, and you can use that to manoeuvre yourself in 0G. I think we've all played with that idea of using your weapon to manoeuvre you around, but this is just a low thrust version. And I can't imagine why anybody would want those sort of rounds for an actual weapon as opposed to just having some proper manoeuvring device, either a handheld thruster or something. So it seemed a bit odd. And then my personal bugbear, the idea of having a robot. In Traveller, just say no to all robots. Unless they're controlled directly by a character or a person, an NPC. Don't have autonomous intelligent robots. As soon as you do intelligent robots, there's 2 things that can happen. The first one is you've suddenly got no reason at all to send people into space. Why would a corporate pay a crew to send a ship between planets if they could put robots on top? If you were running a mining operation on out in the belt, why would you have people out there if you could have robots? So just say no to robots. And to reinforce that, let's do some more shilling again. I wrote this book for Traveller and Cepheus Engine. Again, Jihad is talking about, it's rather like the Butlerian Jihad, but in the Traveller universe rather than the Dune universe. I went into how the robot curse, the robot doom could come and how it would behave and how it was fought off. The idea being here that you could have something like this going on in your game, or you could be part of the fight against the robots. So there's 2 reasons. Don't have intelligent robots in your game. Do not have a prize crew robot in your game. If you've got intelligent robots, you don't need player characters, and unless your player character is a robot. Some of the custom software packages were kind of interesting as well. The idea of having a wipe is very sort of Clinton-esque, the way of just wiping the computer systems to hide everything that was on there and what's been going on, ship's logs, etc. Prices for your custom software. And then this is interesting. So if you're playing pirates, the best place to be is somewhere on the edge of civilization or between two civilizations. So what they've done here is they've added in this Kirkish subsector, and it's an entire subsector for you to play in, and it's ideal grounds, basically, for piratical activity. Got all the usual stats, and one of the best phrases I've ever come across, pernicious source of Varg. I want to use that more in conversations going forwards. So we've got descriptions of all the worlds in that area, and then we reach the back cover. So there you go. Let's get back to the beginning. That is Book 9, Pirates, for Classic Traveller. Not the new Mongoose edition, but Classic. Wonderful. I hope we get more books in this line.